I just wanted to clean out my attic. That's it. But I found this old, dusty doll, one I've never seen before. Since then, things haven't been the same. I hear whispers, doors slam on their own, and at night, I swear something's watching me. I think I made a mistake. If you're into true horror stories that feel way too real, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss what happened after I found that doll. It still gives me chills. Let's get into it. It started when I decided to clean my attic one rainy Saturday. The kind of day where the sky is heavy, the air thick with humidity, and everything outside feels like it's stuck in slow motion. I had been putting it off for weeks, months probably, but that day something pushed me to finally do it. Maybe it was the quiet or the gloomy light that made everything feel heavier. Or maybe it was just the endless clutter that had piled up over the years, reminding me that there was a part of this house I had been ignoring for far too long. The attic was exactly what you'd expect. A tight, dusty space, packed with old, forgotten boxes, pieces of furniture covered in sheets, and things I hadn't touched in years. The smell was thick, musty, like old paper and forgotten memories. It wasn't a place you'd want to spend too much time in, but there I was, lifting up one box after another, feeling the weight of each layer of dust and time that had settled over them. That's when I found it. Tucked away in the far corner, behind a stack of old magazines, was a trunk. It was old, really old. Wood chipped and faded with age. The kind of thing you don't see much anymore. I couldn't help but feel drawn to it, like there was something inside waiting to be found. When I opened it, I found a few old clothes, some letters tied together with a string, and there, at the very bottom, wrapped in faded cloth, was a doll. It wasn't just any doll. It was porcelain, pristine. Its face was unnervingly smooth, its eyes glassy and wide, almost too real. I don't know what it was, but something about it made my stomach tighten. Still, I couldn't bring myself to put it back. I didn't know why, but I wrapped it carefully and decided to keep it. Maybe it was the curiosity, or maybe it was just that strange feeling of discovering something long forgotten. Either way, I couldn't shake the feeling that the doll was somehow alive. The first night after finding the doll, I didn't think much of it. I tucked it onto an old bookshelf in the hallway, mostly out of sight, and went about my evening. I even laughed to myself a bit, thinking how creepy it looked, but also how silly I was being. It's just a doll. That night I was in bed, drifting off to sleep, when I heard something. Faint, like the soft thud of footsteps, slow and measured above me. My bedroom is right under the attic, so I figured it was just the wood shifting. Maybe the house settling after the storm earlier. Old homes make weird noises, right? I tried to ignore it. Rolled over, pulled the covers tighter. Then I heard a knock, not loud, just a soft, almost polite tapping. 3 short knocks, coming from the attic door. I sat up in bed, heart starting to race a little. I stared at the ceiling, holding my breath. Nothing else. No more sounds. I told myself again, it's just the wind. Old house is grown. You're tired. You're letting that creepy doll get into your head. But in the morning when I stepped out into the hallway, the doll wasn't on the bookshelf. It was sitting on the floor, propped up against the wall like someone had placed it there, staring straight at my bedroom door. I stood there for a good minute, trying to figure out how it could have moved. Maybe it fell? Maybe I bumped it earlier and didn't realize. I texted a friend about it, and they sent back laughing emojis. You're just spooking yourself, they said. That attic air must be getting to you. Yeah, that's what I thought too. But that was just the beginning. Awesome. Here's the next section. The weirdness didn't stop. In fact, it started getting worse. I began to feel like I wasn't alone in my house, even when I knew I was. It was little things at first, easy to brush off. A glass that wasn't where I left it, the hallway light flickering when I walked under it, a cold breeze sweeping through the room even though every window was closed tight. Then came the laughter. Software. Childlike. It started one night while I was brushing my teeth. I froze, toothbrush still in my mouth, because I could hear it, just behind me. A quiet, high-pitched giggle. I turned fast, expecting maybe my phone had picked up a video or something, But the bathroom was empty, silent. I even checked the hallway. Nothing. That same night, my dog, usually the most relaxed animal on the planet, started growling. Low, deep in his throat, staring at the corner of the living room, the exact spot where I had put the doll after I moved it off the floor. His fur bristled. And he barked once, then backed away and refused to enter the room. I picked the doll up again, stared at it. Its glass eyes almost seemed like they were following me now. I put it in a box, shut it tight, left it in the closet. Next morning, I found it sitting on the kitchen table. No one else has keys to my place. There's no one sneaking in. I checked the locks twice, 3 times. I even thought maybe I was sleepwalking, maybe moving the doll without realizing it. I started filming myself at night just to be sure. But what I saw on that footage, that's when I knew something was seriously, seriously wrong. The nightmares started about a week in, the kind that feel too real, like your body's asleep, but your mind's wide awake. In the first dream, I was back in the attic, but it looked different, older. The light was dim and flickering like candlelight, and everything was covered in this thick layer of ash. In the middle of the room stood a little girl, barefoot, wearing a faded dress. She was crying, her back to me, clutching something tight in her arms. It was the doll. She didn't speak, just rocked slowly, humming some lullaby under her breath. When I tried to talk to her, tried to reach out, she turned around and her face wasn't right. It was burned, charred in places, eyes wide and glassy like the doll's. She whispered something I couldn't understand, but it echoed in my ears long after I woke up. I shot upright in bed, drenched in sweat, heart pounding. It was 3:11 a.m. The house was silent, but there was this heavy feeling in the air, like something had just been there, watching me. I swung my legs over the edge of the bed and stopped. The doll was there, sitting on the floor, right by my feet. I know I didn't put it there. I would never leave it in my bedroom. And yet there it was, its head slightly tilted, eyes locked onto mine. After that, the dreams kept coming, each one worse than the last. I'd see fire, screaming, a woman's voice crying out, begging someone to stop. I'd wake up choking on smoke that wasn't there. And every single time, that same girl, that same doll, it was like they were trying to tell me something, or maybe warn me. But I wasn't listening. Yet. Awesome. You're really building something eerie here. I couldn't take it anymore. The dreams, the sounds, the way the doll kept moving around like it had a mind of its own. It was all starting to get inside my head. I felt like I was slowly losing my grip on what was real. I needed answers. I needed to know where that doll came from and why this was happening. So I started digging. I went through old records, spent hours online, even drove to the local historical society downtown. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for at first. The house was built over a century ago, I knew that much. But what I didn't know was the history no one ever really talks about, the kind that gets buried under layers of time and silence. And then I found it, an old newspaper clipping from 1953. It was yellowed and faded, but the headline hit me in the chest. Tragic fire claims life of young girl in attic blaze. The photo showed a house, my house. The article said a girl named Clara died when a fire broke out in the attic. She had been playing alone. The cause was never fully determined. Her parents were out. The fire started fast and took everything in minutes. It mentioned that she was buried with her favorite possession, a hand-painted porcelain doll said to have been in the family for generations. My blood ran cold. I looked back at the photo of the doll beside her in the article. Same cracked face, same faded dress, same glassy stare. I sat there, holding the clipping, my hands shaking. I didn't just find an old doll in my attic. I found Clara's doll, and I think I brought her back with it. After that discovery, it felt like everything in the house turned up a notch. Like whatever was hiding in the shadows had finally decided to stop hiding. It started with the whispers, not just at night anymore. I'd hear them during the day now, when I walked past a mirror, when I opened a closet. Faint, urgent voices, always just out of range, saying my name like they were testing how close they could get. The air in the house changed too, heavier, colder in certain spots. I'd step into the hallway and feel like I was walking underwater, like the air itself didn't want me there. And the doll, God, the doll. I tried locking it in a cabinet. It would be gone the next time I looked. I tried burying it in the backyard. It was back inside the house by morning, sitting calmly on the couch like it had never left. I started seeing things. Flashes of movement in the corners of my eyes. A figure standing at the end of the hallway. Always small, always still. Just watching. One night I was woken up by humming. That same lullaby from the dream. It was coming from the attic. I laid there frozen, not even breathing. The melody was slow, sad, and somehow familiar now. Like I'd heard it every night of my life but had just started noticing. I finally worked up the courage to go check. Climbed the attic stairs with a flashlight, each step creaking under me. The second I opened the door, the humming stopped. Dead silence. But the flashlight flickered, then died. And in the dark, just before I turned and ran, I heard a voice right behind me. "You're not supposed to be here." And I knew. I was in her space now. You're building some serious tension here. I hit my breaking point the night I found the doll sitting in my bed, right where I sleep, head tilted, hands resting in its lap like it was waiting for me. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stood there numb and thought, this has to end. First, I tried to burn it, took it out back, poured lighter fluid over it, lit a match. The flames caught quick, but they never touched the doll. The fabric smoked a little, but the porcelain never even cracked. It just sat there in the middle of the fire, untouched, like the flames were afraid of it. Then I drove it out to the river just before midnight. I wrapped it in a pillowcase, tied it tight with rope, and threw it as far as I could into the water. I waited there, watching the current pull it away. I thought, finally, it's done. The next morning I opened my front door, and there it was. The doll was sitting on my porch, dry, clean, exactly how it looked when I first found it. I don't know how long I stood there staring at it, but something inside me cracked. I picked it up and screamed at it, like a lunatic. "What do you want from me?" Of course, it didn't answer, but I swear, in that moment, its expression had changed, just slightly. The corners of its mouth, they looked like they were curling up into a smile. I brought it inside, not because I wanted to, but because I didn't know what else to do anymore. I couldn't throw it away. I couldn't burn it. I couldn't escape it. And that's when I realized, whatever this is, whatever she is, she's not done with me yet. It happened on the coldest night of the year. The house felt different, like the walls were holding their breath, silent, still, and somehow louder than ever. I couldn't sleep, didn't even try. I just sat in the living room with every light on, holding a flashlight like it would protect me. The doll sat across from me on the coffee table. I didn't put it there. Midnight hit, then 1 a.m. That's when the temperature dropped. I could see my breath in the air. The lights flickered once, twice, and then shut off completely. I didn't move, didn't blink. Then came the footsteps, not running, not sneaking, just steady. From the attic, down the stairs, slow and deliberate, like whoever it was wanted me to hear them. I gripped the flashlight tighter, aimed it toward the hallway, and waited. And then, she appeared. Not the doll, the girl, Clara. She stood at the edge of the hallway, not walking, not speaking, just watching. Her dress looked scorched, her skin pale and cracked, and those eyes, still glassy, still too wide. But behind them, there was pain, sadness, rage. I didn't know what to say, but somehow the words came out. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to find it." She tilted her head, stepped forward. The doll on the table moved, by itself, just a small jerk, enough to make my heart stop. Clara raised a hand and pointed, not at me, at the attic. And in that moment I understood. This wasn't random. This wasn't a haunting. She wanted me to see something. Something she couldn't say. something trapped up there in the darkness. I stood up slowly, flashlight shaking in my hand. If I wanted this to end, I had to go back where it all began. I climbed the attic stairs one last time, each creak under my foot echoing like a warning. The air got colder with every step, heavier, like something didn't want me up there. But I kept going. I had to. Clara was behind me, or maybe in front of me. I didn't know anymore. But I felt her presence, guiding me. I opened the attic door. It wasn't the same room I remembered. It looked older, dustier, yes. But more than that, like it was frozen in time. I saw the scorch marks on the floorboard, the blackened outline of something small in the corner. And then I saw it, a loose panel in the wall. A gap, barely noticeable unless you knew where to look. I pried it open with shaking hands, and inside, wrapped in brittle old cloth, was a small charred journal. Clara's journal. I opened it, careful not to damage the pages. Her handwriting was uneven, childish. The entries started sweet, talking about her doll, how it was her only friend. Then they got darker. She wrote about the voices, about the man in the hat who visited her at night, how she told her parents but they didn't believe her, how she tried to hide in the attic, and how the fire started when she was locked in. I felt sick. She didn't die in an accident. Someone started that fire, and they left her there. That's why she came back. Not for revenge, but for justice. For someone to finally hear her story. For someone to know the truth. And in that moment, as I whispered, "I believe you," the attic shifted. Warmth returned to the air. The weight lifted. And for the first time since this began, I felt like I could breathe again. If you made it this far, you're brave. Let me know in the comments. What would you have done if you found that doll? And if you've ever experienced something like this, I want to hear your story. Like, share, and subscribe. But whatever you do, don't bring home anything you didn't ask for.